Welcome, exiles! How would you like to triple your DPS for your melee character? It might work for your character, it might not be triple, but it might be a lot of damage, so what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about Ancestral Warchief and Ancestral Protector. As you can see, my damage went from like 9 million damage to boop 18 million, boop 28 million. That is crazy. Obviously, this is more for bossing, but still, even if you won't have this in maps because you have to stop and cast it, and that is a bit annoying. But you will have Ancestral Warchief, since he can follow you around and you can pop a wall skill really easily, and that is giving you a ton of damage. On boss, you would actually have this combo, which is 22 million damage. Obviously depends, I can scale my damage really high, this is like not as high as it can go. I can probably go to 60 million damage if I go Berserker, but then I would be a complete less cannon. Since I don't know how to sort my defenses on a Berserker. I've been working on that, but no luck. So how did we get here? How does this work? Can you implement it in your build? Well, we got here by me playing around and I actually recorded everything that I did so far. The series is called Let's Make a Build from Scratch. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. And I also made a video how to make a build from scratch, where I kind of explain this whole process, how I make the builds. So if you want to see how to kind of make your own stuff, that is a nice place to start. So all of this started with this node. It's called Panopticon and gives 50% increase effect of buffs granted by our totems. And what are our totems doing? Well, let's see. The Ancestral Warchief gives you, for like normal version, gives you, where is it, 18% more melee damage while totem is active. It also does damage, I mean, it's good thing to have around. And when it's a wall version, it gives you 32% more melee damage, which is a lot. And you scale that with totem buff effect. Then we have this one, which gives you 20% more attack speed, which is huge. So those two things, and then we go and scale the crap out of them. So how do we scale them? Well, first thing is an anointed Panopticon, which is, if I sort with Impel total DPS here for anoints, that is the best node that I can anoint. If I haven't had the thing, I would anoint this, which is kind of weird, like claws. I'm not using claws, like half of this stuff doesn't work for me. Increase melee range, increase attack speed. If you use movement speed, that is kind of really good. But the thing that gives me here damage is Overwhelm, 10% physical damage reduction. That is pretty huge. But this node is actually way stronger for me. So I anointed that thing, then I looked for the same kind of deal here, and I found this Ancestral Guidance by popping this show power, node power thingy, selecting Impel, and then I went into Power Report and tick Show Clusters. And then you can see that each Ancestral Guidance that I keep adding on top of this gives me like 2 point something million. Obviously, probably has like some diminishing returns, so we could try adding more of them. Since I didn't really max out on them, you can probably have 6 of them. I have a bit spaghetti of a skill tree. This is because I'm using split personalities and they scale up their stats by being as furthest from like start point. So the furthest is the travel, the further you travel from the starting point, the more they're gonna give you stats. And I also, how does this build work? You probably know if you've been following along with me on my channel, because this is like my thing that I do here. The Hollow Palm technique is the keystone that is given by one with nothing cluster jewel, and it gives you physical damage per dexterity and also gives you more attack speed, but you have to be encumbered, which is not wearing weapons or gloves, and that's how I'm scaling my, well, damage. If I take that out, I lose all the damage. So that's all of my damage comes from that thing. So the node here, as you can see, if I take them out, they are giving me a lot of damage. Also the really nice thing that was kind of side effect, I guess, is this you have onslaught if you summon the totem recently. That is crazy. You have onslaught for bosses, which is not that easily. You can get onslaught on kill, but on summoned totem, that is really convenient. So I added a lot of those nodes. Basically every medium cluster jewel is basically the same. The other ones have increased totem damage, totem placement speed, and increased totem placement range. So you can, it's not really like I decided to go with that, but you could probably instead of that just go with this node and add some stats. So you can have dexterity, attributes, and one resist there, and yeah, it'd be pretty good. And totems, I actually haven't seen like how much damage do they do. That is the thing. So Ancestral Warchief by itself like does 2 point something million damage, and the Ancestral Warchief does like 3 million. Wow. And this one does again like the same. They do the same amount of damage. Interesting. And you can have 3 of those summoned. Not like the wall version. Not counting the wall version. You can have 3 of those. So that's another 10 million damage on top of my 28. So almost like 40 million damage, and I'm not even using the Pride Watcher's Eyes. I'm not using the Glorious Vanity. I think it's Glorious Vanity that I'm supposed to use, or not. The Dexterity one that gives Dexterity. Probably not Glorious Vanity. Might be mistaken. So I'm not using that. I could get a lot of Dexterity from that thing. Probably push the Dexterity to 1.8 or something. That would give me a ton of damage. I'm not a Berserker, which has 40% more damage and a whole bunch of damage from the rage nodes. If I just spec into this, I would do 15 million damage as it is with this. And then you add on top of Berserk, which is up even more damage. I think that with the Berserker, it's probably around 100 million damage min-maxed, maybe even more than 100 million, which is not something that we even had in Delirium League, which is crazy. I have to test this in-game pretty soon, but I'm still playing around with it and making those videos along the way. So if you want to kind of see where I'm at, just check the last kind of video. And yeah, I'm gonna try out Raider. Seems really interesting with whole bunch of evasion and scaling frenzy charges. There are a lot of frenzy charges here. Really convenient placing. And then if you start from here, you end up on this jewel socket for your like split personalities. Going Berserker, if I can scale up defenses, would be really nice. And Gladiator is always a nice choice. Slayer, kinda trash, usually. I haven't been able to kinda get anything out of him. The Master of Metal is crazy good since the deep cuts are removed, and I kinda don't see that many champions playing this kind of deal. I don't know why that is, but they are not doing it. And the champion is actually decently defensive. I would say the Gladiator is still better, but I kind of want to test this guy out. You can't really spec directly into Gladiator because you would have to take nodes for block. And I'm not doing that, so I would have to redo my skill tree quite a bit to kind of fit in this guy. The other choices, I've seen a lot of Jugs. Jug is kinda really defensive, but he's supposed to be scaling endurance charges, and endurance charges are in this kind of spot. There's some here, but you would have to travel through a bit of strength, which is, I don't know, kind of okay. Could make this work, be really tanky, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but isn't like Gladiator kind of better choice with block? I might be wrong. Maybe Jaggi is kind of easier to scale because Gladiator has to take a lot of block nodes to get blocked kept, and that's kind of a lot of investment to get that block since we don't have a shield. So maybe that's why people are going with Jag, since you have a ton of damage, and why not like scale defenses? Maybe that's kind of deal there. So I will have to kind of think more about how I want to do this. But pretty soon I'm going to level this bad boy up and see how it performs in game. But for now I just wanted to share this find. It's like really interesting. And I have a few other ideas for totems. I'm going to test that out next, but I kind of want to see if I can add supports on totems like Calling Strike or maybe blinding enemies and things like that. Maybe even cursing enemies through totems. I will see how that is going to work out, since I haven't done a lot of research, but it's kind of really hard to fit in anything with this build because you don't have gloves and weapons. I was thinking of using Hungry Loop, which is relatively crappy ring, honestly. It's usually not that great. Let's see, this is the second one. It just says that it consumes like socket gems when they reach the maximum level, and it can consume up to 4 supports, and then you have like your main. So it's kind of like a 5-link. So I was thinking of 5-linking my War Chief with multiple totem support, Calling Strike, maybe even blind, because I wouldn't have blind on bosses, since I would switch to the blood stance on bosses. So blind would be pretty nice for bossing, and maybe, or I don't. You probably can't fit everything, obviously, but some kind of curse on hit or something like that, if that is a thing for. If the totem can even do that, I'm not sure. Probably cannot do that. We have curses, but we would do. What says Mark? We would do. What are we doing? Punishment, I think. Vulnerability. I think we're doing vulnerability. Yeah, we're doing vulnerability. Apparently, I'm kind of not finding the gem. Maybe it cannot be supported. Oh, it's called Hex Touch? Come on, dude. Curse on Hit was kinda better name. Supported skills apply. Support skill applies supported curse on hit. Supported skills have reduced curse duration. You cannot cast supported curse spells. Okay. So Hex Touch support? Can Hex Touch support totems? Maybe it can. I don't know, dude. Okay, there we go. So it does support vulnerability, but it won't support totems. No, it has to be a spell, I think. Maybe because the totems... I get it how it works. It would work if it was a melee skill, probably. But not like that. Yeah, that idea can be scrapped. If you would do... So Hex Touch and Vulnerability, and then like you can do Cyclone. It will still work, but it cannot work on totems. So it does work on melee skills, but not on totems. Makes sense. For spell totem it would work, since the totem would cast the spell, and that spell would be supported by Hex Touch, and that would cast a spell. That would cast a curse, but it would not work for these guys. Okay, so you would go with something like maybe blind, multiple totems, calling strike, and whatever like floats your boat, I guess. You could even support its damage, so it does more damage by, I don't know, adding something to it. I don't know what like it's supposed to do. What would be a good brutality? Maybe brutality does work on them, which would give to it pretty much a lot of damage. Wow, that's a lot of damage. So I would, I guess, add brutality to it, maybe make it a kind of more damaging totem. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Totems are OP, sleeper OP. You have to test it in game. I let you know when I test everything. But for now, I just really couldn't wait, and I just wanted to share this idea with you guys. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you think about this, and I will see you in the next one.